Welcome to our exclusive episode of IRD News YouTube channel, and thanks for being with us. Before getting started, we would like to inform viewers that the Project International Relations Department News YouTube channel is closely linked to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, in particular with Goal 4, Quality Education, and 17, Partnership with the Goals, and works for the benefit of the development of these areas in Kazakhstan. Well, later on this unique program, we will be hearing from our honorable guests, representatives of the United Nations in Kazakhstan and our correspondent from France, so do stay tuned for that. The United States of America returns to the United Nations Human Rights Council after 3 years. Although the United States will have only non-voting observer status on the Council through the end of 2021, the official said that administration intends to seek one of 3 full member seats, currently held by Austria, Denmark and Italy, from the Western Europe and the other states group that come up for election later this year. The United Nations' involvement in Myanmar's political crisis, despite strong protests against the seizure of power by the military, the Myanmar army continues to suppress protesters. A special meeting of the United Nations Council was convened on the 5th February 2021 against the backdrop of growing concern about the situation and warnings issued to the country's military coup leaders. In addition, today we are going to look at these questions. Does the UN justify the cost of running it? Criticism by Kofi Annan. What points he has been criticized for the United Nations? How do Asian, African and European countries relate to the UN today? Our YouTube channel correspondents Azat Abdikamal and Zarina Zhakanova reports.
All the work of the United Nations is paid for by its 193 member states. The United Nations has 4 types of budgets: a regular budget covering the cost of core offices at headquarters in New York and field offices around the world, peacekeeping budget, the budget for international criminal tribunals, the so-called Capital Master Plan budget. Contributions to the UN budget are mandatory. However, does the UN justify the cost of running it? The regular budget of the United Nations is approved by the General Assembly for a period of 2 years. The proposed budget for 2018-2019 was $5.4 billion, which is used to pay for UN operations, staff salaries, and major infrastructure. The peacekeeping budget for 2016-2017 was about $8 billion, equivalent to 0.5% of global military spending. Peacekeeping activities are much cheaper than war, and therefore the costs are justified.
Diplomat, 7th Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, led the reform of the United Nations, devoted a lot of time to the fight against the human immunodeficiency viruses, especially in Africa, and implemented the United Nations Global Compact. He has been criticized for not expanding the Security Council and has faced calls to resign after an investigation into the Oil for Food program. The inability of the United Nations to stop the genocide has been well documented, and Annan has been criticized for not heeding the warnings of the violence. The problem Mr. Annan outlined is that the globe is bubbling with an internal conflicts that make civilians the victims of their own governments, armed forces or guerrilla groups. Although intervention by outside forces cannot halt the killings in every afflicted country, it can in many cases. As Mr. Annan criticized the NATO bombing but recognized that such regional approaches, which lack of the worldwide credibility of United Nations, endorsed actions are bound to continue as long as the Security Council cannot unite. He stopped short of recommending reform of the Council's veto powers or its composition, which still reflects the balance of the world power after World War II. Such issues deserve discussion.
Asian countries, the main centers of United Nations activity in Asia and the Pacific, are Bangkok, Thailand, home to the Economic and Social Commissions for Asia and the Pacific, and Tokyo, Japan, the headquarters location of the United Nations University. The UN Economic and Social Commissions for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP, is the regional development arm of the UN for the Asia-Pacific region. The Asia and the Pacific region is home to 4.1 billion people, or two-thirds of the world's population. These make ESCAP the most comprehensive of the 5 regional commissions of the United Nations and the largest UN body serving the Asia-Pacific region with over 600 staff.
In Africa, the UN system plays a crucial role in coordinating assistance of all kinds, from promoting the development of democratic institutions to establishing peace between warring nations. The UN is present on the ground supporting economic and social development and the promotion and protection of human rights. In this effort, the UN works closely with Africa's regional cooperation mechanisms and has 7 active peacekeeping operations at present. To advance its support for Africa even further, the United Nations Office of the Special Advisor on Africa was established in 2003 to enhance international support for African development and security, to improve coordination of United Nations system support. In case of European countries, our correspondent from Nice will explain the cooperation between France and the United Nations. Yerkejan Parmanova joins us right now from Nice, France.
France is the founding member of the United Nations. It occupies a permanent seat on the Security Council. Also, it's a permanent member of the Conference on Disarmament. Now we'd like to look through at the key points of France taking decisive diplomatic action for the UN development throughout its existence. French Republic is the 6th largest contributor to the regular budget of the United Nations as well as to the peacekeeping budget. France also supports an expansion of the Security Council. In 2013, France proposed a framework for the use of the veto in cases of mass atrocities in the form of collective and voluntary commitments by permanent members. In September 2020, 105 countries have already joined to the political declaration submitted by France and Mexico on this issue. In December 2017, French President Emmanuel Macron, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and World Bank President Jim Yong Kim launched One Planet Summit to accelerate the implementation of the Paris Agreement and mobilize public and private actors to fight global warming. In case of human rights, France have always played a special role. Though back to October 2020, France was elected to the Human Rights Council for the 2021-2023 term. In its candidature to the Human Rights Council, France emphasized 3 priorities. Firstly, an ambitious feminist foreign policy. Secondly, protection of rights defenders. Thirdly, defense of the freedom of the press and the right to reliable information. Seems like France is superlative at what is action in UN. In addition, because of the Brexit, as the United Kingdom left the European Union, this means that France is only European permanent member left on the Council. So there is a possibility that from now France will work even actively to strengthen its position. However, the proof of it must be from time. Yerkejan Parmanova from Nice, France, special for IRD News.
On 2nd March of 1992, the Republic of Kazakhstan became the official 168th member of United Nations. This important event was achieved thanks to the tremendous achievements of Akhmaral Khaydarovna. She was the one who, as the only delegate from our country, represented the Republic of Kazakhstan at the rostrum of the General Assembly. IRD News team takes this opportunity to express its gratitude and our highest appreciation to Arastanbekova Akhmaral Khaydarovna and all diplomats who had done an extraordinary job at that moment. How effectively is the United Nations working at global and regional level, particularly in Central Asia? What were the key moments between United Nations and Kazakhstan during 29 years of cooperation? Representative of the United Nations Department of Global Communications, Mr. Vlastimil Samek, will explain.
The global context and importance of Sustainable Development Goals. Let me just very briefly reflect the essence. it's a peace and prosperity for the people. And through that, we see the reflection of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, again, depending on the specific regional setup, on the continents, on the level of development of various countries. It's about the improved education, which I think is always important for each and every member state, climate change, human rights, and equality for all. We shouldn't also forget the gender equality as a very important aspect of the sustainable development, together with the decent jobs, as well as, of course, the health issues, since we are meeting during the time when the world has been affected and still is by the COVID-19 pandemic. And indeed, each and every region is very specific because of the culture, because of the religions. So we have to see our planet, the world, through different regions, perhaps different aspects, how the development is being actually perceived. It's perhaps a bit different in Europe, different in Asia, different in Central Asia, in some aspects. But when we speak about the global sort of, I would say, aspects, then we always see the unifying factors, which I have already mentioned. It means the reflection of the Sustainable Development Goals, but indeed adjusted or tailored to the specific conditions of each and every of the regions around the planet. We shouldn't forget that the previous Secretary General Ban Ki-moon very, I would say, rightly expressed himself when addressing the importance of the Sustainable Development Goals by saying, we have no plan B for this planet. And that's something what we always should keep on our minds. We are actually going to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the independence of the Republic of Kazakhstan. We see how importantly Kazakhstan has contributed to the global safety and security by nuclear disarmament, by the repeated calls for the ban of the nuclear tests, for the complete nuclear disarmament, for the nuclear non-proliferation, as well as other calls. But also, I would like to highlight the peacemaking and peacekeeping contributions of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Peacemaking by actually voluntarily distancing itself from the ownership of the nuclear arms. This is a great contribution to the global peace as well as the peace in the region. That's why there is also the initiative in Central Asia that it's the region nuclear weapons free. Based on that, also reflecting the 29th of August as a date when Kazakhstan actually stopped the tests on its soil in Semipalatinsk region. There has been established an international day against the nuclear tests, which is being observed every year. So these are just few aspects of contributions. We are also seeing the significant contribution of Kazakhstan through its participation in the United Nations peacekeeping operations. There is one more thing which I would like to highlight, and perhaps this is the best answer to all of that. And the fact that Kazakhstan became a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council as the first country in the region. And I think that speaks for itself. So it's more about on what we are focusing, and actually together the United Nations and Kazakhstan are focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals through a mutual cooperation. It's called United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, UNSDCF. Currently the most recent agreed plan is for the years 2021-2025, and it specifically highlights, and perhaps allow me to look here, just for accuracy of the reflection, there are three thematic areas that we here in Kazakhstan are focusing on. It's human development and equal participation, effective institutions, human rights and gender equality, and inclusive economic growth and environmental sustainability. And here you exactly see what is being seen by the Republic of Kazakhstan and the United Nations jointly as priorities for your country. Also, I'm very grateful for being invited here to the Al-Farabi Kazakh National University because, as you know, the United Nations and the Al-Farabi Kazakh National Universities have quite a long tradition of cooperation. University serves as the global hub on sustainability under the auspices of the United Nations Economic Impact Initiative, and also the United Nations in Kazakhstan have a specific arrangement with the university through its Memorandum of Understanding. So, into conclusion, I would like to use this opportunity and to congratulate the people of the Republic of Kazakhstan on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the independence of the country. But also I would like to reiterate our strong support and partnership in respect of working together in achieving sustainable development goals. And of course, I would also highlight the importance of Kazakhstan's membership in the United Nations. Thank you.
That's all for today. Thank you for being with us. Leave the comments and hit the like button.